Om Shanti. Let's spend a few minutes in silence first. We live in a world of sound. Gently unplug from the world of sound and plug into the world of silence. Turn your attention inwards and take it to the point behind the eyes. Gently disconnect your attention, withdraw it from everything around you and turn it inwards. Slowly take it to that point behind the eyes, which is completely peaceful. I, the soul, the star of light, sitting behind the eyes, am very peaceful. My energy is that of stillness, silence, and peace. Just visualize yourself as a shining star, shining peaceful star sitting behind the eyes. This is all I am, just a point, genderless, colorless, no caste, no religion, no nationality. Just see yourself. You are such a tiny point, a tiny, peaceful and blissful point, sitting behind the eyes. No length, no breadth, no height, just a tiny point. You are this tiny star, defined by your peace, your purity, your happiness. My property, my quality is my peace. This is what is most valuable to me. I sit and nurture my peaceful state for some time. Om Shanti. So, when you started this course, you thought of yourself in numerous ways. You thought you are your name, your body, your culture, your religion, your so many things, what you do and what you have. But now I'm here telling you every day that you are just a point and you are made up of knowledge, purity, peace, love, happiness, bliss, and power. And all that matters to your existence are these 7 qualities. Have you heard of that saying, when wealth is lost, nothing is lost? When health is lost, something is lost. And when character is lost, everything is lost. So, what is character? Character is these 7 qualities. So, when you lose your awareness, when you lose your peace, when you lose your happiness, or you lose your state of loveful being, or your state of bliss and power, then you end up losing everything. So that is the only loss there is. No external loss matters because you live in a world where there is constant change. One day in one of the previous sessions, we were discussing this, that this is a world where change is constant and rapid. So even if you hold something very tight with both your arms, it just slips out of your arms and you never know where when your arms are empty. So you live in a world where holding tightly to something doesn't ensure that it won't slip away. And this is a time where we are living amidst a lot of uncertainty. And I'm sure in the last 30, 40 years of your life, or whatever life you remember and recall, and majorly these past 8 to 10 months that have passed, you can see how things are changing suddenly. Things that you thought that would never change, or you counted upon to be with you or be in the same form as they are for a lifetime, have changed suddenly. Suddenly, people who had so much faith on their health are suffering with health issues, and they don't know how to deal with the fact that they can fall ill. Or suddenly people you trusted are behaving so erratically, or people you counted on to fall back in times of need are no longer there for you, and then you don't know how to deal with that situation. Or whatever money or property or post or position you relied on, whatever your attainments and accomplishments that you think define you, are suddenly questionable, and you don't know whether they will last with you, or if they last, whether they give you the kind of security you thought they would give you. So all these things are becoming very evident, that we are living in a world where the external setup is constantly and rapidly changing. And when we identify ourselves with the external setup, what we have, what we do, and these other stuff, then the internal world is also in a flux or in a very unstable state because the external change is massive. Now you see, these are two things. This mic is a separate thing and this stand is a separate thing. But now that they are connected together, I don't have to move the stand individually. If I move the mic, the stand moves too, right? So because two individual things which have separate flows, which can go different ways, when you connect them, their movement gets connected. Similarly, I, the soul, my nature is to stay peaceful, happy, loveful. That is my quality. And there is nothing in the external world that can take it away. But since I have connected my identity or associated my identity with so many things external, that is why when those things are not in a stable state, my internal state is also always unstable or fluctuating because I've connected the two. Now let's look at some statements. You see, we say, I am a man or a woman. But are you a man or a woman? You are a soul, and the gender of your body is either male or female. So, my body is male or female, but I am not a man or a woman, I am a soul. I am not fat or thin. My body is fat or thin or overweight or underweight. Or I am not dark or white. My body is has a skin tone that may be light or dark. Or I am not young or old. My body's age may differ. Or I am not Hindu or Muslim. That is the religion I practice by virtue of my birth in this body. So, if I was born in a different family, which a soul is capable of, if I were born in another family practicing a different religion, then my religion would be different. So I am not what I say I am. So I am not an engineer or a doctor. That is the qualification I have earned, or that is the work I do. I'm not a mother or a daughter or a brother or a husband. Who am I? These are the roles I perform. I am a soul performing these roles. But now you see, what we have done is we have associated these two things. And because of this association, this attachment, there is no clarity between who am I and what is external. It is very similar. You see, you can understand this from this example. This is a book, and if I keep it here, can I see anything? If I just keep it here, I can't see anything and there is no clarity. But if I keep it at a distance, then I'm able to read it, correct it, analyze it, understand it. So you need a certain distance, you need a certain objectivity so that you can operate with things. If they are too much in the face, you can't deal with them. There is no clarity. You can't see clearly what is what. Similarly, we we have a body, we have a gender, we have an age, we have other statistics, there is work we do, there are things we have, there are roles we perform. But because we have associated very closely our identity with all of this, that is why there is no clarity, there is no objectivity, there is no discretion, and we feel very trapped in them. And whenever they are going through a process of change, it makes us very, very unstable and jittery inside. And we are very influenced by external change because of this association. Now, let us understand this thing that I just explained with an example. You see, I am wearing this sari, and this sari is not me. This sari is my costume, right? But let's say I create an illusion that I am this sari. Okay, so this is the now you must be finding it very funny that how can a person think I am this sari, but this is what we are all doing in real life. So we think I am the clothes are where I wear, or I am the age of the body or the gender of the body I wear. So the body is also a costume. So let's take an example where I have created an illusion that I am this sari, and then what happens is I wear this sari, and then I say, then I don't say my sari is looking good. I say I am looking very good because my sari is looking good today. And then I go out on the street and I meet somebody whose sari is better than my sari. And then what do I say? They are better than me. But the truth is, only the sari is better than their sari is better than my sari. And then I suffer a complex and I say they are better than me because I have associated my identity with the sari. Now I go a little further, and then there is some damage that happens to my sari. And then what is the thought I create? Oh, I got damaged. But the truth is, only the sari got damaged and it can be repaired. And then, after some years, when the sari gets worn out, I create the thought, I am worn out, or I cannot last longer than this because the sari has worn out. But the fact is, I can change that sari and take a new sari. Now, similarly, about the body. So, you are not the body. And even when the body is damaged or worn out, you are not worn out. And you can take care of the body. You are the soul, the being residing in the body, and you can repair the body. Just like the owner of the sari can get the sari repaired, so you, the owner of the body, can get the body repaired. You can take your body to the hospital. You can nurture it with good positive vibes. You can make sure it gets healthy. But when you get affected by the damage of the body, then who heals the body? So, this is why diseases are psychosomatic. It is the effect of the mind on the body because you have associated your identity with the identity of the body. So, when the body is ill, what you create as a thought is not my body is ill, but I am ill. And when you are ill, who will treat the body? Because this is your body. And the caretaker, the owner, has left his right or given up his right and says, I am ill. So when I am ill, who will take care of the body? So this is what has happened. And although when you hear this example, it you feel it is funny and bizarre to be thinking that I am this sari, but it is equally funny and bizarre that we think that I am this body, or the work I do, or the things I have, or the degrees I have acquired, or the accomplishments that I think are mine. So they are all external and they are not part of my identity. I have them, I work with them, but they do not define me. And the basic thing is they will always change. That is the law of their operation, and that is how they are designed. And in one of the previous sessions, I asked you a question to just look around you and ask yourself, what is it that will never change around you? And you said that there is nothing that will never change around you. So that is the law, the design, the way things are, that they will constantly change. But change is a very beautiful thing. And what is the beautiful thing about change? One thing changes, you lose that thing in that form, you get something else. Yes, so you lose something, you gain something. That is change. You never lose absolutely, you never gain absolutely. Wherever there is change, there is something that is going away and there is something that is coming in its place. That is the nature of change. But because you are attached to that different form, that is why you only feel a sense of loss and not a sense of gain with it. Yeah. For example, you lose comfort. What do you gain? You gain experience. If you lose your comfort in a situation, you gain experience in its place. Don't you gain experience in its place? So I was there is one brother, and he got affected with COVID, and then he was talking to me the other day, and he said, that phase is over, and I'm really thankful that phase is over, but I feel very good that that came and went. And when I am reflecting on that phase, I feel I am very powerful now, and I'm not scared of COVID because I know what it is. So he said, yes, I lost my peace for some time, and I was not feeling very sure and okay, and I had doubts, and I was in fear and all of that. But then what I have got instead is experience and power, and now I feel I'm in a better place to handle a similar situation than I was before. So you lose something, you gain something. No pain, no gain. Have you heard of that? No pain, no gain. So you don't go and invite pain, but if it comes, you know that there is gain also in this. So there is a very beautiful saying that uh, when situations are favorable, they give you happiness. But when situations are unfavorable, they give you power. And power is more prized than happiness. When situations are favorable, they give you happiness. When situations are unfavorable, they give you power. And power is more precious or prized than happiness. So, this is something that we need to know. We lose something, we gain something. And basically, whenever we think something, and basically it is changed, there is no loss or gain, but something has changed into something. Nothing changes into nothing. So everything changes into something. So if you are not attached to what changed, then you will see what it has changed into. And you will discover that you are gaining something in this situation also. Even when you lose your body, you get another one. That is the law. A soul loses one body, gets another one. And you get a better one. You get a newer one. You leave an old one, you get a new one. So it's always a win-win situation. But the thing is, we never pay attention to what we have gained because we are very attached to that which has changed. So that which has changed, we keep lamenting what is lost, and then we never look at what is gained. And I will give you one very interesting example about this, and this also applies to the current situation we are going through. So there was this brother, and he was sharing with me. So he came to the center. It was some 2 years back. He came, and he was working with a multinational as a vice president. And then he kept telling me, ever since the day he came, he kept telling me, Didi, I have not done my MBA, and I've come to this big position until now. And, beyond this, you can't survive without an MBA. And it's getting tougher and tougher. And I don't know how to do an MBA. And I can't do it alongside my job. It's very taxing. And then I don't know how to take a 2-year break and do an MBA. And every day I would listen to this MBA, MBA, MBA. And it had got into my head that this person needs to do his MBA. And then after 5 to 6 days, he told me, Didi, I went through a very bad phase in life. So I said, what happened? So he said, 2 years back, I had no job for 2 years. So I said, 2 years you didn't have a job? He said, no, they chucked me out of that company. And then 2 years later, I got this job. And 2 years I was sitting at home. Then I said, you were sitting at home for 2 years. Why didn't you do your MBA then? You have been telling me about this MBA ever since you came. So he said, Didi, you see, 2 years didn't come in 2 years, like they came one day at a time. So every day I thought I'll get a job next day. So 2 years passed, and only when I look back, I see that it was 2 years and I could have actually done an MBA at that time. So I said, you see, the universe gave you an opportunity, and an opportunity that you wanted and were craving for it, but then you never took notice of it because you didn't trust the universe. So, do you trust that everything around you is not happening to you? It is happening for you. So, you think this is happening to me, and that is happening to me, and this wrong is happening to me, and that wrong is happening to me. No, it's not happening to you, it is happening for you. This whole universe is designed for you. And there's always benefit in change, but we can't see it. And I have seen many people who used to always complain about not getting family time or not being allowed work from home. And now those same people are complaining about sitting at home and sitting with the family. So, because whenever you get that opportunity, you don't appreciate it because you are looking at something else. So we must understand that I am a soul, and everything on the external world is always changing, and there is no way I can make sure that it stays constantly the way it is staying. So there will be constant change, and change is the only constant, but I, the soul, can create thoughts and feelings, can choose my thoughts and feelings the way I want, and I can operate with every change in a happy, peaceful, stable fashion. This is something that I need to understand. And when you attach your identity with the external stuff, then that change upsets you, and you can't, because every change becomes an identity crisis. So it's not a change, it's an identity crisis because you have associated your identity with it. So once that shifts, you don't know who you are. And when you don't know who you are, how do you find yourself? Because you are in low self esteem, because with that shift, your identity is lost. But when you understand that you are a soul and your identity is spiritual and everything else is external, then even when things on the external are changing, you are not in identity crisis. And then you know how to operate with that external and use it to your advantage or see the good in it. So there is objectivity, there is clarity, there is sanity when you know who you are and that the nature of the external world is changing. So the truth is, you are a soul, and there is no reason for you to go from peaceful to peaceless if something on the external is changing. And I will tell you, we are all conditioned in such a bad manner to think we are bodies or something, that even if we listen to this chapter over and over again, it takes a lot of time for it to sink in. But if you just surrender and you take on this idea as it is given to you, it is a life changing lesson to learn. And once there was this mother and sister combination who came to me, and the mother and daughter, sorry, combination who came to me, and this daughter was 8 years or I think 7 years of age, and then her mother said we have to do the course. So I said, who has to do the course? So she said, both of us have to do the course. So I said, all right. So I said, will she understand whatever I speak? She said, yes, yes, Didi, she will understand. I have trained her. You speak and she will understand. So I said, okay. Then first day that daughter kept sitting and I told about the fact that we are a soul and this is a body and all this thing. And then the next day, when they were coming and they were climbing the stairs, then the daughter fell down the stairs. And I also heard the sound of her falling down, and I also rushed and I was seeing what happened. And then she just got up and she said, no, no, my body is hurt, I am fine, my body is hurt, I am a soul, I am fine. And then she just climbed the stairs very easily and she came and sat in the class. And then when I asked her, are you fine? So she said, yes, you told me the body is hurt. So the body is hurt, it is paining, but I am fine and I have to listen to the class. I can listen to the class. So, and you see, this is such a powerful weapon if you apply it. And because that child is innocent and the child knows how to surrender, so she surrendered to knowledge. And when you surrender to something, it gives you power. So, this is the power that this piece of knowledge can give you. And you see, it can make a child rise above physical pain. So, what can it not do to us? But we are so fixated with this idea that I am the role I play, or I am what I do, what I have, I am this body, that we just don't give up on it. And if we give up on it, then we will be able to enjoy and relish this whole journey. You see, this journey is the way it is. You can't stop the COVID-19. You can't stop the other things that are going on. You can't stop or change how things are happening around you. But you can choose how you want to experience all of it, whether you want to experience it as a joyride or you want to experience it as a nightmare. So that depends on you. And that discretion or that choice will be available to you when you shift your identity to a spiritual one and give upon your physical identity. So you will live with everything physical, but that should not define you. And when you get this in clear in your consciousness, then your experience of life is very different. Life is the same, but your experience of life is very different, and life is nothing but how you experience it. So, this is something. Now, I want to talk about 4 words today. The 4 words are consciousness, attitude, perception, and action. So there is consciousness, attitude, perception, and action. So most people will ask you to change on the level of action. So, all the bhakti that we have done or whatever we have learned until now is all about do this, don't do that. Yes, do this, don't do that. Now, do this, don't do that is expecting you to change on the level of action. But action is like the flower or the fruit that comes from the seed of consciousness. So until the seed changes, the fruit cannot change. So the consciousness cannot, if the consciousness doesn't shift, the action cannot change. So even if for some days you will try doing a different action for some time, you will again go back to the same action that you previously did because the consciousness has not changed. Now, what are these words and what they mean? We will see this. Now, let me share an experience with you before we understand this. So, there was a meeting in a government institution, and about Swachh Bharat Abhiyan. And I was part of that meeting, and we were attending, and there was this person who was a big shot in the government sector, and he was presiding over that meeting, and he delivered a big speech on Swachh Bharat Abhiyan. And then after the speech, he just threw the peel of his banana on the floor. After the meeting was over, he took a banana, ate it, and then threw the peel on the floor. Now, why did that happen? Now, it's not that he doesn't know that cleanliness is important, or we are conducting a meeting about Swachh Bharat Abhiyan. But why didn't he care to go and throw that peel in the dustbin? Because he feels he is entitled to throwing it on the floor. And he feels he's the boss, and he doesn't have to go and throw it in the dustbin or take that much of effort to do that. So he thinks he's entitled to just throw things around and create a mess. And then other people who are cleaners and sweepers, it is their job to clean the place. So you see, the consciousness is I am an entitled person. I am not a sweeper. And the consciousness is the job of keeping the place clean lies with the sweeper. So I am not the sweeper. So I will not sweep, or I will not make sure this place stays tidy. So even if he will talk about cleanliness, he will not think that he has to keep the place clean, because his consciousness is that is the job of the sweeper. So this is all about consciousness. Now let's understand consciousness with a different example. So let's say there is a doctor, and he is a very established professional, and he has performed many operations and surgeries in his life. Now, one day he enters the operation theater. He is completely ready and equipped to carry out that operation. But as soon as he sees the patient on the operation table, he sees that that is his son. And then his hands start shaking, and he is not able to perform that operation the way he had intended to. Why? Because his sense of self, his consciousness has changed from I am a doctor to I am a father. And when he thinks he is a father, he cannot see, his attitude and perception changes. And he cannot see the person on the table as a patient, because a father can only see a son, he can't see a patient. To see a patient, you require to become a doctor. So when you change from a doctor to a father, the patient changes into a son, and then the capacity to behave as a doctor is no longer there. You can only behave as a father. So this is how you have to understand consciousness. What is consciousness? Consciousness is your awareness of who you are. It is your sense of self. And when you think you are a doctor, you think like a doctor, see like a doctor, act like a doctor. When you think you are a father, then you think like a father, see like a father, behave like a father. When you think you are Indian, you think like an Indian, see like an Indian, behave like an Indian. And then all your conceptions around about what it means to be an Indian will manifest. Your ideas about what it means to be a doctor will manifest. So you have a lot of theory about what it means to be who you are. And then you can't stop being yourself when you think you are that. So when you want to, now you see, if I think I am a mother and I am conditioned to believe that the role and responsibility and the duty of a mother is to Worry. So what are we taught? How to be a best mother? If you worry the most, you are the best mother. Yes, so ever since we are born, we are said, माँ को तो चिंता होती है ना, माँ हूँ मैं तो मुझे तो चिंता होगी ना. तो mothers are associated with worry. So whenever you think you are a mother, you can't stop worrying. And even if you come to a spiritual class and we tell you that worrying is negative energy, and when you are worrying, you are sending negativity to the child, you can't stop worrying because you are still a mother and your moral duty is to worry. Yes, so even if you understand what to do and what not to do, you are not identifying with what not to do. You can't materialize that knowledge because your sense of self doesn't allow you to do so. Now, by the way, do you know worrying is negative? So, while giving that example, I was thinking whether you appreciate the fact that worrying is negative. So, let's take an example and understand this also now that I've taken up that topic. You see, let's say your child is late in returning from wherever he has been. And then you start thinking, then what kind of thoughts do you create? What kind of thoughts do you create? Do you know, you all know what kind of thoughts you create when the child is late. Now, let's say your neighbor comes up at that time and they say, "Oh my God, I don't know why he's so late. I hope he is not crushed under the truck, or he has not met with an accident, or something miserable hasn't happened to him." Then what do you tell your neighbor? You say, "Can't you speak anything nice ever? Why do you always have to speak negative?" But then if you check yourself, you are the one who were thinking the same things before your neighbor arrived. So you think that your neighbor is thinking negative when he says these things, but then you are thinking the same thoughts. And you think that when you are thinking those same thoughts, you are concerned about the child. But then if you are thinking those same thoughts, you are radiating those same vibrations. And whatever you create in the mind, the probability of that happening in actual life is increasing. So thoughts become things is a rule. So whenever you are creating a certain state of mind, then you are increasing the probability of that manifesting as a reality. So that means that whenever you are worrying, you are actually doing more damage than good to the people around you. But then we have been conditioned to believe that worrying is a moral duty of a mother or a father or anybody who is a well wisher. So we think that if we don't worry, then we are not concerned, and care and concern have been confused with worry. So care means you ensure things are good, worry means you doubt they are bad. So when you care, you pay attention on making them better. When you worry, you pay attention that they have gone wrong. And wherever you pay attention, energy is flowing and that thing is growing. So care is not the same thing as worry. But then we can't stop worrying if we think that as the role that I'm into, the moral duty is to worry. So, the consciousness that we have is very important in determining our attitude or our perception or our action. And even if somebody tells you that don't do this or don't do that, that won't manifest or materialize until unless your sense of self has changed. So for example, you think you are a woman or you think you are a man, let's say, and then men are no good if they don't earn a certain package. So if that is the conditioning, so that is the conditioning, right? So women have to be beautiful and men have to earn well. So then, even if you are taught not to worry about your looks or about your package, you can't stop worrying about it, because you have been conditioned to believe that that is who you are. So even if somebody says, okay, you lost your job, but don't lose your self esteem, you can't do that, because your self esteem has been connected to your job because of your gender. And your self esteem has been connected to your look because of your gender. So then, how do you stop losing self esteem when your looks are not okay, and then you have been conditioned to believe that you are how you look? Then all this problem arises. So, whenever you think you are a man or a woman, you will think like a man, behave like a man, speak like a man or a woman. And nobody can stop you from doing that. So, this is why, until and unless our sense of self changes, our consciousness about who we are changes, our attitude, our perception, and our action cannot change. Because whenever you are in a situation, you are operating with a consciousness. This is why when you come to Brahma Kumaris, day in and day out, we will keep telling you, you are a soul. And then you don't get it and you say, why do I have to think I am a soul? Why can't I continue being who I am? No, you can't continue being who you are, because if you continue being who you are, then you will continue doing what you have always done. And then you will continue getting what you've always got. So, if you want to change how you do things, you have to change how you think of yourself, what conception you have about yourself, what is your consciousness of yourself has to shift. This is why the first chapter, the most important chapter, and the foundation of everything is shifting your sense of self from what I do and what I have and how I look and my age and my gender to I am a soul, I am just a point. I am just a point. I am peace, love, happiness, bliss, power, and whatever happens around me, I am defined by my peace, purity, happiness, love, bliss, power. So I don't have to lose this. When character is lost, everything is lost. And character is not whether people think you are full of character or not. Character is your own personal state of peace, purity, love, happiness, bliss, and power. So sometimes people think character is your perception, that the perception that other people have of your character. That is not character. So, character is your quotient of peace, purity, love, happiness, bliss, and power within you. And that is who you are. So, under no circumstance, you have to think peacelessly, think unhappily, even if there is turmoil outside, there is a whole storm outside, you have to take care of your internal energy, because that is what you are defined by. So, this is when you think you are a soul and your quality, your identity is your peace, purity, love, happiness, bliss, and power, then you will choose peace, choose happiness, choose to stay powerful, come what may. Okay, and this is what all this training, this practice of soul consciousness, all this is about. So every day, why are we practicing I am a soul? Because once the consciousness shifts, the attitude, that attitude, perception, and action will automatically shift. And then you will not try to be peaceful, you are peaceful, and you will radiate that peace in your attitude, perception, and behavior. Okay, this is why meditation is all about, in the beginning, practicing that you are a soul and your qualities are these 7 basic qualities. And the more you pay attention to them, they grow. And when they grow and your consciousness of a soul grows, then other things will follow automatically, and then you will be able to operate with life as a master, not as a slave, as you are doing right now. All right, Om Shanti. There are some comments or questions. Let's take this. So, is there a reason why that we go through problems in our lives? Yes, there is. And there is a spiritual reason, there is an individual reason, and there is a collective reason. And we will talk about that in the coming chapters. Okay, so we are going through problems in our life as a whole, as the whole world also, and individually also. So individually, there are slight variations, but as a whole world, we are going through problems right now. And we will learn the reasons for both of these, why the world is going through the time it is going through, and why I am going through the time I'm going through. So both of these things we will understand in the coming chapters. During meditation, I'm not able to focus properly. I'm trying my best, but thoughts about work, family, and kids come to my mind, and I am unable to meditate. What should I do? Yes. So it is normal, natural for other stuff to keep coming, because that is what you have been thinking about for so long. So what you do is, you unplug from the external, plug in your buddhi to the internal world, and whenever other thoughts are coming, you let them come and go. You don't resist them, because whatever you resist will persist. You don't play along, you don't become party to those thoughts, and you don't resist them. You keep doing your thing and let those thoughts come and go, and you just smile at them. That, see, this is my tendency and this is manifesting, but right now I have to focus on this. Just like when you're trying to work, then sometimes your children will come around and disturb you. But then what you do is, you don't resist them, you allow them to jump on your lap and pull your hair and do stuff, and you keep doing your work anyway. So that is how you have to deal with the internal world also. So these are the children you have given birth to, right? So these children will disturb you. So these things that you keep thinking about, you are your creation. So those creation will come and disturb you every now and then, but then you have to keep focusing on the new task that you have been given. Okay, so the next question is, Didi, some people use this concept for financial gain. Like they say that if you visualize that you are rich and you have so and so bank balance, you will start attracting that money from universe. Same principle they apply to health and other things also. Does this also work? Now you have to understand that you attract as you are. So if you are in high frequency, you don't have to you don't have to consciously think about good things to come your way. If you are in a good state of mind, all the good around you will definitely be attracted to you. So you don't have to attract health or finances. If you are peaceful, happy, stable, and powerful inside, then every other thing will follow. So you don't have to water the leaves or the branches, you water the seed, and the plant is already ensured to grow well. Okay. Can you repeat that line you told to explain care and worry? The difference between care and worry. I don't remember what I speak in the class, so so I can't repeat if you ask me to repeat. But there is a blog I have written, and I have written a whole piece on care and worry. I can post that to you. Okay. Didi, how can one remove his own negativity, right? So negativity is like, so negativity is there, right? So you can't pull that out. What you can do it, you can fill positivity and the negativity gets displaced. So negativity, just like, you can't pull out darkness from a room, you switch on the light. So when you switch on the light, the darkness goes away. Similarly, negativity goes away when you feel positivity inside. Okay, let's meditate for some time. Sit still and quiet. And gently come to the awareness that this body is a costume that I am wearing. I am the soul wearing this costume called the body. I am the tiny point of light wearing this big costume called the body. Just like a tiny person driving a big truck or a big train, I am the tiny soul driving this big vehicle called the body. I sit on behind the eyes. I see through the eyes, hear through the ears. I decide which turn to take from the body. I'm driving this vehicle around, deciding where my legs move, what my hands do, what and how my eyes see, what and how my ears hear. Just see yourself, a tiny star, driving this big body around. Marvel at the wonder of life for a few seconds. Om Shanti.